What's happening, everybody? Doing another one of these post commentaries. This was the stream on the 22nd of December, so it was a while ago. So these hands probably not fresh in my mind, but I'm gonna be do my best to commentate over them, get my thought process. And yeah, this was a really great stream. We played like 3.5 hours after the stream ended. It went into overtime. I think it was like the first time the Rounders Tonight live stream it went into overtime. So let's get right into it. This first hand, we see a middle position open to $15, and there's no straddle on, so it's just a 1-2. And it folds all the way around to me in the big blind, and I make a bit of a questionable defend with the queen eight off, but I'm trying to get in there. Want to keep the VPIP up, don't want to be a nit on stream. And I'm rewarded when I flop 2 pair on ace queen 8 two-tone. I check it over to him as I would with all my hands, and he c-bets for 1/3 pot, and I decide to check raise to, I forget what size I use, 55, that's right. And in hindsight, I don't really know about this raise. Preston, as the middle position opener, is going to definitely have a major range and nut advantage on this board. He has all the sets, all the 2 pairs, except he probably doesn't have queen 8 off. But I, in theory, shouldn't either. So he's probably opening a queen 8 suited from middle position. Of course, he has ace queen, ace 8 suited, and yeah, like I said, all the sets. And for this reason, it opens me up to getting 3-bet on the flop or raised on later streets, especially since Preston's a good aggressive player. So raising here and getting 3-bet on the flop, or seeing like a bad turn card and facing a ton of aggression on turns and rivers. That's just really going to be a nightmare for me. And my bluffs are clear with this raise. Obviously, combo draws, couple straight draws, flush draws. But my value range is pretty narrow. Like I said, I really only have pocket 8s, queen 8, and maybe ace 8, ace queen offsuit. And then ace, like, I don't know. Like I said, he has the range and nut advantage. He has a lot more of those super strong hands. And he's generally going to interact with this board much more than I will. However, we are very deep, so I can get called by gut shots, queen X, especially if they have backdoor flush draws with diamonds, etc. And there are a lot of bad turn cards that I really don't want to see. So that would be an argument for raising. So I like, bottom line, I think this is a really close spot. I don't know, honestly, whether this raise is good or not, but I make it. We'll see in a second that he does end up continuing, and we see a turn completing the flush. It is a 3rd spade, and I think when the turn completes the flush, that's generally going to favor me. Like, he's definitely going to be calling with some flush draws, no doubt, but I think I have more suited hands in my range. However, I don't know how many of those I'd be check raising on the flop. Like, probably wouldn't want to check raise my weaker flush draws on the flop. So it's, like I said, like, kind of in a tough spot, especially since by betting here, you could argue that I'm repping a better hand than I have. Although I would disagree with that, because, you know, like, I still, like, 2 pairs definitely can still bet on this turn for value. I go with the sizing of $90, which looks like about 60% pot. Maybe I could go bigger, but no, I think $90 is probably fine. I don't want to overplay my hand. And the river is disaster. It's a 4th spade, and I take a while here, and eventually decide to check. And I think that's, you know, the best decision. I'm like stone bottom of range. Given what I raised on the flop with, I don't think I have a worse hand than I have here. Like, I never have worse 2 pairs. I never have like just single pair hands. And Preston's, you know, and I think that even with my flushes here, I'd check, because it's like he definitely could call flop with the ace of spades, gut shots with a spade, queen X with a spade, or, you know, like I mentioned earlier. And he generally just has a higher concentration of those big spades than I do, given that he opened from middle position. So it's a really tough spot here. And I think that given that, like I said, I'm at stone bottom of range, because all of my bluffs on the flop have pretty much improved except for Jack 10 offsuit. And even that, like I'd have to have, like, probably, like, the only worst hand I'd have would be, like, Jack 10 no spade. And even then, like, am I really raising that on the flop? I don't know. So yeah, Queen A is just one of the worst hands I could have here, and I don't think it's a mistake to do what I did, and that's fold. He bets about pot size as well, so don't need to defend that low in my range.
I think, and especially since he does let it go. I think very reasonable laydown to make. Great move by Preston.
Really well played.
Yeah.
I think it was well played by both guys. I think Preston just found a spot to be opportunistic.
His jack of
Okay,
diamonds.
you see that they pulled the horsies up. So it looks like the stand-up game is in effect now.
All right, so as you heard from the commentator, the horsies are in front, which means that we're playing the stand-up game, but instead of standing up, because we block the cameras when we do that, the horsies signify whether you're standing or sitting. So I think this is like the very first hand of the stand-up game, and we see Preston raise early position to $20. Ant-Man calls, and it folds to me in the cutoff with 5-4 suited, and I make a speculative call. And it folds around to, I think, yeah, Holly makes the call in the big blind. I don't think there was a straddle on. No, I don't think there was. Yes, we go 4 ways to a flop. Ace, 4, deuce. And it's going to check around to me. Right? No, my bad. Preston continues for a small sizing of $30, and I have a pair, gut shot, and it's the stand-up game. So Preston could be pretty wide here, even though he's taking a small sizing. So yeah, I make the call. I think even if he has an ace, I have a decent amount of equity. Definitely enough to call such a small c-bet. Turns a 9 of diamonds. In my mind, this is a brick. And when he checks, I put him on like either a bluff or some type of marginal showdown. So I actually block bet to deny equity from his air balls. I think he would continue with his flush draws, so I think he's really like in the middling portion of his range when he makes this call. And the river's 8 of diamonds, another brick. And I just check behind and take a close look at his kings there. And he's going to take down the pot. I don't think because of the stand-up game dynamics, I don't think I'm going to get a fold out of his middling showdown hands. Especially when the flush draw bricks. Alright, in this next hand, I have ace-6 of diamonds in under the gun +2. Looks like there's a $25 straddle. And yes, we are still playing a stand-up game, but you'll notice that a few people don't have their horsies in front of them. And I make it 75, it's pretty standard open. And I get called by Holly, who's short stacked and also probably like the tightest player at the table. Yeah, I don't think anybody else really is in contention for that title. She was definitely the tightest by far. And yeah, so I'm really not loving this spot. And I think up to this point, like basically throughout the whole stream, she like never shunned down any type of bluff, and like, you know, always showed down strong hands basically. So when the flop comes ace 5-5, it's all right, but I check to see what Holly does, and she doesn't think for long at all, and quickly reaches for a $140 bet, committing herself. As you can see, she only has about $200 behind. I think the graphics are wrong because you can see she's only got 2 stacks of red chips. Trey quickly folds, and even though the stand-up game is going on, I just check fold the ace with no kicker.
Oh, by the way, you have to show your hand when you win the
The
stand-up game.
Stand-up we have to call it something else.
I don't
since
know.
you're
I
not
feel like
standing
we
up.
need to rename it.
The unicorn game,
Yeah.
Pegasus game.
All right, so this next hand is a definite display of the stand-up game dynamics at play. Ethan opens it up from the middle position to $16 with no straddle on, and he still has his unicorn out in front of him. Oop, he just hit my microphone. And I wake up with pocket tens on the button, an absolute premium in the stand-up game, and 3-bet to 65. Should be noted that Ryan limped in early position. I forgot to say that, but he cold calls the 3-bet, which is interesting. And Ethan's going to get in there as well. So we throw 3 ways to a flop in position with pocket tens in a 3-bet pot. Flop comes 5-5-3. Excellent, excellent flop for me. And Ethan's pretty short stacked. Ryan is a bit deeper, but I still decide to go for a bet of 100 half pot, hoping to get called a little bit lighter, and also just get max value from under pairs. Because I'm like basically 100% sure I have the best hand. I'm like, if he has a 5, he has a 5. All right. I mean, I'm not folding a hand like this. And we'll see in a second that he counts out a raise to 200. So I get min raised, and he leaves himself with a little less than 200 behind, and I just snap shove. And I show my hand because that's part of the stand-up game. Yeah, so I get min raise, just snap shove over that, and he snap folds. So yeah, that's a display of the stand-up game dynamics.
8-6 suited for Ryan. He's going to call the 10. Ant-Man King Jack offsuit.
There's no music, there's nothing.
All right, this next hand, there is a $10 straddle. We have a limp from early position. Ant-Man opens up from the hijack. Trey makes the call. And I have ace-king suited in the small blind. Great hand. No more stand-up game, I believe. So, of course, regardless, I'm still bumping it up, and I make it, I think, 225, it looks like. Okay, 230. So, pretty standard stuff. 3-bet squeeze from the small blind. I think I go a little bit on the bigger side because Ant-Man's definitely on the stickier side, so I know I can get value from a lot of worse hands. A lot of hands I have dominated, such as the one that he has. And you'll see he does end up making the call.
Ant-Man makes the call.
And Trey comes along as well. And then when Trey goes call, I put him on, a speculative implied odds type of hand, and then Ant-Man could just have a bunch of stuff. He's extremely wide. So when the flop comes ace-6-3, out of position I go for a smaller c-bet size, especially since the pot is it's a big pot. It's a 3-way 3-bet pot. But yeah, definitely a great board for me. If really the only hands I'm afraid of would be Trey having pocket 6s or pocket 3s. Looking if he has a flush draw, then I plan to just bomb it on the turn. But yeah, they both fold and I take it down.
A particular hand is that Esteban had a better diamond in his hand, and he's also blocking the open and the straight draw with his ace.
All right, this next hand, there's a under the gun limp, no straddle, and Trey makes it 25. Bit of a bigger sizing, especially without the straddle. And I wake up in +2 with pocket queens. So clear 3-bet, of course. Although it's a very tight configuration, it's under the gun +1 versus +2. 3-bet to 85. Folds around to Preston here. Looks like he's thinking of getting in there. And he does. He has pocket 8s and cold calls the 3-bet. Big blind folds, limper folds. And now it's back to Trey. And with a 3-bet and a cold call, he's definitely incentivized to 4-bet a bit lighter here. For sure, just to try to take down the dead money, and that's what he does. He makes it 350. So I have a bit of a weird spot here. We're mega deep. And like with the caller in between, I know he's incentivized to 4-bet wide. I know he has bluffs, but in the moment I felt like if I 5-bet and get jammed on, I am just going to like puke and hate life and you know, be flipping at best and way behind at worst. Didn't want him to hero fold a hand like jacks or 10s if I 5-bet. And we're not playing a stand-up game, as previously mentioned, so there's none of that dynamic at play. So I'm really not sure what to do here. You know, obviously the problem with flatting is give his bluffs, or let his bluffs realize their equity.
It's just that he doesn't know what Preston's going to do.
That's very true.
If he has like a king jack suited.
Yeah, I'm just really, you know, I go into the tank for a while
He may bring Preston in.
and end up making the call.
He may think that that price is just too much for. Oh man, Preston just sticks it right in there without thinking about it much with his 8s.
Yeah, I guess he's just going to go pure set mining.
And Preston quickly calls behind.
It's probably close, but
So it's pretty obvious what type of hand Preston has. I'm not exactly sure how wide Trey is. I'm not sure if he's 3-betting, like, if he's 4-betting just like, you know, a few bluffs, or if he's as wide as like ace-9 offsuit as he, like here. But yeah, with the ace out there, that's just so good for all of his bluffs, like ace-5 suited, ace-4 suited, and the jack as well. Like if he has a hand like pocket jacks, I'm behind. So really, really, really bad board for me. The only hand I can really hope to be ahead of would be pocket pairs below the jack, like 10s, maybe 9s if he decides to 4-bet that. So yeah, really, really bad board. And now I'm behind pocket 10s on the turn here. Just goes from bad to worse. Like, yes, I do pick up a gut shot, but like I'm at this point, I'm just done with the hand. I regret not 4-betting pre-flop, or sorry, 5-betting pre-flop. But you know, like, yeah, just a horrible, horrible spot for queens. And when Trey delay c-bets, I just have to let it go. I mean, I think about it for a second because I do have the gut shot, but not really much I can do.
I don't think he wants to get called.
Yeah.
That's a big. I mean, the
Exactly.
stack to pot ratio is 2 to 1.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to necessarily let 2 other players see a river for free. See, part of poker is the pre-flop, but you know, you can see hands like that and see how pre-flop can just absolutely be interesting to watch and fun on its own.
Yeah.
All right, this next hand I'm really not proud of, but it happened. So here we go. I opened up ace queen suited and +1 to $40 over a $10 straddle. And it folds to Holly, the aforementioned tightest player at the table, who does not think for very long at all, and 3-bets to 115. I had no idea that she was capable of pulling a move like this with the 10-9 suited, but I think she had 3-bet a couple times already, and it always showed down strong hands. If it did get there, I don't know how many of them got to show down. But yeah, I was really not loving this at all. But I felt like even though she's really short stacked, she has put in a 6th for stack pre-flop. Ace queen suited is a little too good to fold. But when I called, I was mainly just looking to flop some sort of draw.
Which could, you know, bring in some case
ace in the window, but it's ace 7-4. I check as I would with all of my hands. She snap bets. I mean, not really snap bets, but you can see like she did not take long to decide whether to bet or not, and she bets 175, I think, leaving herself with about 300 behind. We saw her do this earlier when she had a strong top pair, and she didn't 3-bet ace jack, which made me think I really have a bluff catcher here. And I let it go. Obviously, it's a really bad fold in when you can see the cards, but I just gave Holly the ultimate respect. And yeah, the commentators roast me for a bit, but you know, I just did not think Holly was bluffing here, and I didn't think I beat any of her value.
Chip instead.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Well, I believe so.
We're going to see Ryan just call with the king-9 suited, trying to keep the pot small. Something we touched on a little bit earlier is sometimes when the straddles go on, players try to keep the pot a little bit smaller by limping more, which can work, but it can also get you punished against a player that's playing aggressive pre-flop. Like, for example, I don't know that
All right, so in this next hand, there's an early position limp, $20 straddle. Ant-Man opens up the cutoff to $80. Ethan makes the call on the button, and I am in the big blind. But with two straddles, it's not really a big blind. It's just one of the small blinds. That's how I think of it. So I generally don't like to overcall when I'm not closing the action. Although in a lineup like this with two pretty passive players in the straddles, I think it's okay. But when there's aggressive players later to act after me, I don't. Then there's potential to get squeezed. And for that reason, I play a 3-better fold and ace jack offsuit. This time I went for a 3-bet. We are not very deep in because of the $20 straddle. I make it 400, which is 5 times the initial open raise. And knowing Ant-Man's pretty sticky and could call with a lot of worst hands, I was not really too worried about him when he ends up making this call. Spoiler alert in a few seconds, but he does make the call. And I honestly forget what Ethan does. Yeah, Ethan gets out of the way. We go heads up to a nearly $1,000 pot.
Yeah, it's a tough spot.
3-bet pot. Looks like stacked pot ratio is roughly 3-1. And flop comes really, 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 really bad. 7-8-9 just smashes Ant-Man's range. He has all the sets, all the 2 pairs, all the straights. Honestly, just like the worst. Like, I could not have asked for a worse board. It doesn't even give me a backdoor flush draw. So yeah, I check, and he surprisingly checks behind. I was pretty surprised about this, but when he checks behind, not really sure what he could have, but probably some like middling showdown value type of hand. I didn't think he had. I thought he would bluff a hand like he had. So yeah. Anyway, 4 clubs on the turn, and with my gut shot and the dream, I c-bet for looks like 375 or no, a little more than that. 575. And he does not take long at all before making the call. So that kind of confirms my suspicions that he's either on a draw or he has some like middling showdown type of hand. And when the river brings in not only the backdoor flush draw, but also puts 4 to a straight, I hate life. But I do have the ace of clubs. So I strongly consider shipping it and trying to get him to fold like, I don't know, a 9, an 8, maybe even 2 pair. But I was really afraid of just getting snapped off by a flush. So I actually end up checking, planning to check raise all in. And I know like the SPR is a little awkward for that, but I figured that if he bets like 600 and I check raise all in, then he would fold a lot because of the low SPR. Like the low SPR makes it look like that I think he's never folding. Like basically, how could he bluff for such a small amount? Is what is my logic. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do here on the river. Like maybe I'm just supposed to go for it, just holding the ace of clubs and pray he, you know, doesn't have a flush. Yeah, he checks behind and takes it down with bottom pair.
Not the chip count, but of the profit count.
That was after the ace jack hand, I believe.
This next hand folds all the way to the cutoff. Who limps? And I'm on the button with king 7 offsuit. And I decide to get a little frisky, make it $20. There's a call from the small blind, call from the big blind, and the limper makes the call as well. So going 4 ways to flop in position with pretty trash hand, but I was bored, probably. Flop comes 9-3-7 with a couple of clubs. And I think it checks all the way around to me. No, Ethan donks out. And holding the king of clubs, I don't think I am going to fold here, even though I probably thought I was behind, but I figured he could be doing this with a lot of worse flush draws as well. A hand like 10-8. Or 5-6, because that's double gutted. So I thought I was ahead some of the time. Definitely enough to call a third pot sizing. And when the small blind and big blind both come along as well, I put them on 9x or draws. I did not think they had like an actual strong value hand. Thought they would raise those to, you know, deny equity from the aforementioned draws. So I thought I had a decent amount of equity heading into the turn, although I did not love that they both called. And turn is a king, and I think this is an excellent, excellent card. But as you can see, it's really, really bad because it gives Ethan a better 2-pair. Ethan continues for a bet of 55, which I thought was really, really small. I did not think this was very strong at all. I thought he was trying to set his own price with one of the aforementioned draws. Or just block bet a 9. So I definitely think I have the best hand here. And I want to charge the other draws that are behind me, or that I believed were behind me. And I make it 300. Probably could have gone even bigger here because the pot was already to, looks like 250 heading in the turn, somewhere around there. So yeah, pretty big raise relative to his bet sizing, but he also bet super small. And yeah, he also had $300 behind. So that's probably why he bet small, because he was planning like, you know, if he gets called and by any of us, he'll just ship the river. So that actually makes perfect sense given his stack size. But anyway, obviously with 2 pair, I'm happy to get it in against Ethan. Small blind makes the fold, and when Esteban makes the call, I put him basically like 100% on a flush draw, like or a straight draw. I just don't think he has anything else. Definitely doesn't have anything that beats me. He would raise at this point, especially since my line looks actually pretty strong. You know, call flop, raise turn against the aggressor. So yeah, I basically put him on a draw and was hoping for the 7 of clubs on the river to boat me up and give him the flush.
And now it's going to be just Eric and Esteban on the side here, playing for a side pot. A bit unfortunate for Esteban because it might actually be tough to get paid into a dry side pot if his club does come or he hits a 10. I do expect Eric will call some sort of bet if Esteban hits his card, but he's not going to be able to bluff at it at this point, obviously, since
The
Ethan's
seven
already
of
in.
clubs would be an interesting.
It would
river.
be. Or the king of clubs.
And after that long break, we see a river, and it is the 7 of spades. Not quite what I wanted,
Goodbye,
but
Ethan.
still gives me a boat, of course.
That's a bad run out.
So I'm obviously thinking I have the best hand. And at this point, I'm just like praying he slow played pocket threes for whatever fucking reason. And I know I'm not getting any value out of a flush draw that missed. So I just go big and try to get called by a worse full house. Yeah, like, I mean, if I value on myself against pocket nines, then so be it. But yeah, I just go all in. He snap folds, and I show the winner. And Ethan shows that I really needed that 7 on the river.
Yeah, you can hear the table react to seeing Ethan's hand. Pretty.
So yeah, take that one down after hitting a 2-outer. So feels good.
The table talk. Everybody is definitely feeling for Ethan there because we've all been there as poker players. We've all seen that happen. Oh yeah, he did take some hands against Ant-Man for sure.
All right, this next hand, there's an open from Preston in early position to $20. Ant-Man makes the call in the hijack, and I'm on the button with ace-queen offsuit. Clear 3-bet spot, especially given how wide Ant-Man is. And I wasn't really aware that Preston was opening this wide at this point in the stream. But yeah, I knew he was splashing it up. Knew he was getting in there with some hands. I didn't know he would be opening king 3 off from +1 though. But yeah, I make it 125 and get a call from Ant-Man, and we're going heads up. To a flop of 8-4 deuce rainbow. And when he checks, right? Yeah, he does check. I make a 1/3 pot c-bet. Just looking to deny equity from undercards, but in hindsight, I don't really think this accomplishes much because I'm not folding out any better hands. And I mean, I guess I get value from draws, straight draws, but that's about it. I think this hand is just better as a check behind, and look to hit something on the turn or river. And then when the 6 on the turn comes, that's a really bad card that completes a lot of straights and puts a lot of oh my, wait, I'm out of position. That's why. Okay. I don't think that changes my my analysis at all, but that makes sense. That looks like the graphics are wrong. I'm not on the button. I'm out of position. That makes sense. That's why I was first to check on the turn. But yeah, like point still stands. He like this 6 is actually pretty bad because it pairs up a lot of his straight draws 7-6, 6-5, and then completes 5-3 if he happens to have that. So I just think I'm behind. Yeah, like basically every time, but. He floated me on the flop pretty wide and picked up a good turn card. So well played by Ant-Man.
We've got 2 seats at the top at 10 times her stack.
Yeah, it makes for a really interesting dynamic.
It does. There is a strategy for playing with each of those stack sizes.
All right, this next hand there is a $25 straddle on. I think, yes, it's a double straddle. And Trey opens it up to 75 from under the gun +3. And I'm on his direct left with ace deuce suited. And I go for a bit of a spicy 3-bet to 225. I think this is a perfectly fine low frequency 3-bet. Especially considering how deep we are. Cutoff folds, button folds, and unfortunately for me, Holly, with about 600 in her stack, sticks it in with the cold 4-bet shove. And I really hate this. Especially because Holly is the tightest player at actually, no, that's a lie. Holly was not the tight at this point in the stream. Holly was not the tightest player at the table. That goes to seat 8. But seat 8 was not there for the first like 2 hours of the stream. I think he replaced somebody. But yeah, I know Holly's got a really strong hand. And however, I do have an ace. And, like, as long as she doesn't have aces, I'm, like, even if she has a better ace, then I'm probably not quite getting the odds to call. But if she has an underpair, like, anything but, like, kings or below, or like what she has, pocket nines, I know I'm about 70-30. And you can see it's 381 to call to win about 1320. I don't think the stacks are perfectly accurate in the graphics, but I know it's roughly 400 to win a pot of 1300, which is less, like, definitely need less than 1/3, and I think less than 30%. I mean, that's just the mental math I was doing in my head. So I end up making the call because I'm just getting the correct price. Even though I know I am 100% of the time, I'm behind. Yeah. So we go to a run out, all in pre-flop, $1,300 pot.
I was just gonna say that. Oh,
Pick up clubs on the turn.
And that's a club.
oh, he's got 2 clubs.
There's a lot of folded
Don't
clubs.
do it, Matt.
But the river does not bring me any help, and Holly takes it down
Pocket nines lift.
with the pocket
Nice
nines.
pickup from Holly, over doubling her stack there.
Well played, other streets. So that was really well done.
All right, this next hand, I'm in the $20 double straddle. Yes, double straddle. And it folds all the way around to Preston on the button, who opens it up to 65. Pretty standard sizing. And Ant-Man folds the small blind.
He's gonna raise to 65.
Big blind folds, Trey folds, and I make the call with the queen deuce suited. I think this is a pretty actually very standard defend. Not sure about, like, this would be a standard defend button versus big blind. Not really sure what ranges are gonna, how ranges are gonna change with straddles. That's something I need to study more. If there is any study material for double straddle pots. But anyway, we go to a flop. I flop middle pair, backdoor flush draw, and make the call when Preston c-bets for about 1/3 pot. Turns an ace, ace of spades to be exact. Great card for me. Reduces the number of ace-x that he has in his range, and gives me a flush draw on the off chance that he does. Then when he checks behind, I'm pretty sure I have the best hand, but you know, he could have just worse queen x. So I check, planning to call a bet, and he checks behind with his 3rd pair. I show the queen, and it's good. Pretty uneventful hand, I guess, but nice small pot to take down.
And everyone else is loser, right? 7 people losing.
And we've had 11 people on tonight,
on.
including the 2 that have,
Yeah, you're
well, I
right.
guess now 3 that have left, but
And Tuesday was the other way. We had everybody winning and only 2 people losing. The losers.
$20 double straddle, and I open it up in the cutoff with pocket threes. This might actually be a fold with so many straddles, but I mean, I'm not going to fold the pocket pair, especially not when we're this deep and at a table that's not really going to. I mean, there's only a couple players that are really going to be 3-betting me at any reasonable like frequency to put that's going to put pressure. And so we get called by the small blind, the big blind, the under the gun first straddle, and Ant-Man is going to come along as well in the final straddle.
I could guarantee he's going to call or raise.
He's going nowhere.
So he closes the action here with a call. We go 5 ways to a flop, hoping to flop a set in a $300 pot. The shortest stack is Holly with 1,200 roughly, and then everyone else is 2K deep. Or I mean, I'm the next shortest stack at 2K. Don't flop a set, but we do flop a gut shot and backdoor spades. Although it's it's 3 high spades, so I do not expect that to be good when we are 5 ways to a flop. But yeah, checks around to me, and I'm happy to take a free card. Hopefully, bank a 4 or a 3. Both would be fine. Unfortunately, the turn is a 3rd spade. And yeah, I mean, even though I said I had a backdoor flush draw, it's a 3-high flush draw. So not really loving it too much. But when Esteban and Holly both check, I don't put them on particularly strong hands. And Preston, I know, can be super wide here. He can, he's a good aggressive player. He'll definitely have a good amount of bluffs here. So I make a debatable call, hoping that Esteban and Holly behind me both fold and we can just go heads up. And that's exactly what happens. So I know that I do have, I might be behind, but I do have spades and the gut shot to go along with my pair. But unfortunately, the river's a brick. He checks, I check behind, just taking my showdown value. I could have bluffed. I'm not really sure if I should have, but I didn't. And he wins this with second pair.
Kind of playing in position. He's just kind of.
All right, this next hand is one that I probably butchered, but we were playing the stand-up game, so I got a little frisky. But anyway, under the gun, I am in the $20 straddle. And Jacob opens first to act to $150, which is 7.5 times the straddle. And I took this as a strong but vulnerable hand, like probably moderately strong but vulnerable type hand, that just wanted to take down the blinds and throw him in his unicorn and be able to sit down in the stand-up game, even though we're obviously all sitting down. But I think you get what I'm saying. He wants to not lose the stand-up game. So he opens it up to 7.5x, and Ant-Man makes the call in the small blind. And as mentioned previously, Ant-Man can be very wide here. So when I look down at Ace-Jack offsuit in the straddle, I think this is a pretty good 3-bet spot. What I failed to consider is that we're really not deep at all. Like, because he raised so big, I can't really 3-bet to a size, a reasonable size that will allow me to get away if I get 4-bet. And yeah, I probably should just fold this. I don't like Ace-Jack is not a hand I want to go out of position multi-way. So I think this is actually a fold. But I end up 3-betting to 850, which I think like is probably just too small. And I mean, but because of the stack size, I can't really go any bigger without completely committing myself. And I mean, I'm still committed, even though I went with a smaller size. But and then when he shoves, I'm getting like way too good of a price to fold. Like I thought he would shove a lot. I thought he would shove actually like a lot of worse hands, like, you know, king queen suited, and then weaker pocket pairs that I'm flipping against. So I thought Ace Jack had a decent amount of equity against his 4-bet shoving range, especially with the stand-up game going and with how aggressive my image is. But you can see we're up against top of range and get it in really bad against kings. We end up running it twice, flop top pair on the first run out, and river trips. Miracle Jack on the river in the first run out. So now we are free rolling the second run out, but have to hit an ace because obviously there aren't enough jacks left in the deck. But yeah, Ant-Man folded an ace. And we do hit the 4th jack, but obviously it does not make a difference. We end up chopping it up, and he gives me a nice punch in the shoulder for making a dog shit call. And I get rewarded for making bad plays.
They both chop up Ant-Man's money there. Should say.
And he's still stacking.
Yeah, that was a big pot. And Preston can't even finish stacking his chips before he picks up pocket kings. And we'll see if he opts for a bigger raise. He goes back to the more standard raise with no straddle on. It looks like 15. Almost.
All right, this next hand I wasn't that involved in, but I decided to include it because it's very interesting. There is no straddle on, and Preston opens first under the gun +1 to 15, and gets 3-bet by Ant-Man on his direct left. Folds around to me on the button, and given how deep we are, I actually make the cold call with the pocket sevens because I didn't think I was going to get 4-bet squeezed often enough for this to be lighting money on fire. And I'm really happy to see that Jacob also makes the call in the small blind, so giving me even better odds to hit my set. And Esteban wakes up with the ace and the ace in the big blind.
Ooh, man, this is going to be rough for He just got back into the green, and now he's running.
And he is generally like quite like I don't know how if he's that tight, but he's definitely like on the more passive side. So when he 4-bets, I'm just done with the hand. Even though we're deep, even if it like maybe I'd call, or if like both players called, then I'd just be getting like 1,000,000 to 1, and yeah. So Preston makes the 5-bet to 900, and I'm definitely getting out of there if I wasn't already. Stand-up game is also at play. As you can see, Ant-Man has his unicorn in front of him. And I think Esteban does as well. But I don't think he's... I still don't think he's 4-betting light here at all, despite that. So yeah, Ant-Man does end up getting out of the way. And I do as well. Correction, no, Esteban doesn't have his unicorn in front of him. So, yeah, Ant-Man gets out of the way, and I get rid of my sevens. Jacob gets out of there as well. And Esteban goes into the tank here, because, I mean, as the commentators say, I mean, it is actually kind of a weird spot for aces, because a 6-bet just looks ridiculously nutted. But if you just flat, then, you know, it's you know, you may lose out on value if you're up against like queens or jacks and the flop comes king high, something like that. But I still think flatting would be the correct move, just because, you know, if that's like I think that's the best way to ensure that you can get stacks in on the flop. And I just think like the 6-bet looks, you know, too strong. You just don't want them to hero fold queens or jacks or ace king.
I think he said, I don't think I want you to call.
He counts out calling chips. But ends up making the 6-bet to 2,000, which is pretty funny. That's like the classic, you know, like Hollywood tell. And Preston doesn't fall for it one bit. It gives him a little bit of table talk, and then folds the king's face up. Sicko fold by Preston. Esteban shows him that it was the correct fold. And yeah, that was a very interesting hand.
And it's a great place to play.
It's a great card club. We've got lots of, as we mentioned earlier today, the full restaurant, full menu, full bar. We've got golf simulators, 2 of them. We've got a barber shop.
Yeah, plenty of stuff to do here for sure. Tournaments running pretty much every day as well.
All right, this next hand we are continuing the stand-up game. Rhonda has entered in the middle of the stand-up game. She can see that she's in seat 5. That seat was empty for a while, and she's in there with the 10-4 suited. Makes the open to 150. I forget where. I think I'm in the $20 straddle. Yes, I'm in the $20 straddle. Under the gun +2.
He's not sure exactly what to make of Ronda just yet.
So it's definitely a big open. And Ant-Man makes the call in the small blind.
Okay, so Ron is dominated by 2 players and in suit.
Trey also makes the call in the first straddle.
And of course,
And I am sitting there with ace jack of spades. And an important thing to note is that Holly, when she folded, her cards flipped, and it was 3 deuce of spades. So that's 2 spades from the deck gone. I'm not sure how that changes like my odds or equity. I mean, well, obviously it reduces my equity, but the question is how much, and whether that means that, you know, I shouldn't call. But I do, because ace jack suited is just a really strong hand. And I wasn't aware that Ronda was opening quite as wide as 10-4 clubs, but I knew that she has a lot of, like, she really doesn't like losing the stand-up game. So I knew that she was probably getting in there with some special stuff. And a great flop for Holly if she had stayed in with her 3 deuces spades, but obviously she didn't. And I flopped the nut flush draw knowing that two of my outs are dead in the muck. So it's a little bit of an awkward spot for me. Because I'm not as happy as I otherwise would be. I have 7 outs instead of the expected 9. But anyway, it checks all the way back around to Ronda, who bets. Ant-Man folds. Trey does make the call. And I'm not going anywhere with my nut flush draw, even though there's 2 outs dead.
Eric has spades, though. He's probably going to at least call.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting way too good of a price. $350 to win $1650. It's insane. But yeah, I'm not really loving this spot. It's tough knowing that 2 of my outs are dead, but hoping to, you know, pick up something on the turn like a straight draw or a pair. Unfortunately, actually, I do pick up the straight draw, but funny thing is, in the moment, like at this point, I didn't really notice that I had the straight draw. I was too focused on the flush draw. Because the 3 obviously gives me the straight, but it does chop me up with any, like I do chop the pot with any other ace. We check it to Ronda, and she continues firing for 500. I hadn't really seen her pull off a big bluff like this in the few times that I play with her, so I actually thought I was up against a really strong hand. If I knew she was capable of bluffing in a stand-up game like this, I probably would have just ripped it here. But I decided in the moment, and I think I'm kind of like back and forth between it until I realize that I also have the straight draw with the ace, and that's the point at which I call, because that kind of pushes me over the edge in my mind in terms of the odds that I'm getting. And yeah, I'm just hoping to hit. Obviously, my stack is less than half pot at this point. So not really, loving this spot. But I do hit a 3 on the river, expecting to chop a lot of the time against her ace-x. But on the chance that she has like a hand like king-queen or whatever, or, something like somehow a 2-pair, I lead super small. I lead for 200. And the graphics are a little bit wrong. I actually have around 1,000. So I have like almost a 1/3 SPR. And I lead for 200, just hoping to maybe she'll spaz with a hand like she has, like a misdraw. Obviously not folding if she raises all in. But yeah, hoping like to get like a really thin value from like Queen X or something along those lines. And you can see that she's in the tank here with 10-4 suited, third pair. And she's not considering a call. She's considering raising. And obviously, I don't know that at the time, but like the physical tells that she's giving off like makes me a little, you know, confused. But obviously that's not like I'm not folding. I don't care. I'm just hoping to see a call, but she actually raises all in, which I was not expecting. I snap it off, show the ace, and she just mucks. Yeah, so she raises me all in, and yeah, the graphics are a little off. I get a nice double up toward the end of the stream to bring me back up to above even for what felt like the first time all night, I think. But yeah, solid night for me. A lot of hands. I think my VPIP was over 40 by the end. Yeah, it was a great stream. We played for, like I said, we played for another like 3.5 hours after this. It was a super fun game to play in. And yeah, I'm excited for the next one.
Michael, good job tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I am Rude. Good night.